Machamp is another character I'm quite familiar with. Similar to Pikachu Libre in the sense that you're going to hit it a lot more than it's going to hit you, but it does a lot more damage, so it evens out actually a lot of times in Machamp's favor. Machamp is very simple to keep out, since side Y is very useful. Pretty much every projectile that you have is quite useful against Machamp. It can use Karate Chop to get rid of them right before it hits you, but let's say you do this and they Karate Chop, then you'll be able to hit them and punish them in their recovery animation. Now, the main thing that you are going to be concerned about, there's two things. The first thing is this. That's an extremely slow projectile, but if you try to CADC it, it does way too much hit stop to really be able to do anything about it. So you just want to sidestep that, just avoid it. And don't throw out too many projectiles while it's doing this unless you use a level 3 sideway blast, which will go right through it. This move, not very big of a deal. This same thing, as long as you're moving to the side and throw it out sidewise and level 2 blast, it's not going to really be too much of an issue. Same thing goes for the boulder. Now, this move is actually super annoying. You can whiff punish it, but you can't be close. If it's anywhere close to you, this has a lot of armored frames, and you can, let's say if they are absorbing a side Y with this, then you can 4Y through it. But if you just go for like a raw attack, they can go through this. They can go through it with this. Now, this jump X is minus 12 on block, so grab it whenever you block it. Even if it's a little bit far sometimes, you can just grab it. Machamp's homing attack is pretty fast, though. You don't really want to be in range for that. Yeah, it's the same speed as Shadow Mewtwo's. Machamp, the main thing that you're going to really want to worry about, besides this, though, is Machamp just walking you down. That is scarier than anything else it can really do, because it can just walk you to the corner. And since it can get close and do something like this, or maybe like an air grab, since you're a tall character, it can actually grab you. And dual phase is actually the same thing. That's not really a thing against characters that are shorter, but against Shadow Mewtwo it can. You're going to want to watch out for that. So, the most important thing to know when dealing with Machamp is walk. You see how slow Machamp was walking? Your walk speed is a lot faster, so you can just walk away from a lot of the things that it does. If it does a 4Y, you 4Y it back. If it's throwing out sidewise and jump-wise, you just keep on walking to the side. You just stay away from it. You want to stay near the corner, but a lot of times that's not really going to be feasible, so don't even worry about it too much. Machamp is going to take a ton of time to whittle down its shield. So, in fact, what's normally going to happen is you're going to get Machamp down to about like half of its shield, but then from using all these sideway blasts, or even maybe Miracle Eye, you're going to be using up quite a bit of HP. And that's when you're going to use Eevee to get it back, and then Eevee actually makes you do even more chip damage. So that's very useful for chipping out Machamp's shield and then getting it to block a neutral Y, that's Miracle Eye, or a side Y. If you get it to block a side Y or Miracle Eye, neutral Y, then you can go for a forward Y to go for the shield break. Otherwise, you just want to kind of dip and stay in field phase for a while. It doesn't really matter too much. Just don't let Machamp get too close to you, and the way you do that is just keep on moving. In dual phase, 6X is one of the best moves that you can possibly use against Machamp. It doesn't really have many ways to check it, except for it can go for a submission, which is this. Submission is forward A. Now the thing with forward A is they can cancel it into a block. So if they perfectly happen to guess right at the exact same time that you are doing 6X, and they do this, then they can actually recover and punish you before you can cancel it into any of your sidewave options. But that's not very common. Level 2 blast and that are going to be pretty sufficient. Now this can go under sidewave blast, but it's not safe. If they just do one hit though, then a lot of times you're going to have to like guess. You can extended state, but it's really hard to punish both hits. In my opinion, just block for a while after you block this, and then if you see the second hit, then go for your full punish. And this move is negative 16 on block, so you can go for 2YY or go for a 5Y to punish it. Remember that this move is negative on block, it's negative 4, but if they are enhanced, which is when they press A and they push them into the bulk up, then it's plus 4. Same thing goes for a field phase, but that's how that attack works. Is you want to stay outside the range of this. Scary Face is a very dangerous attack. It goes pretty far, and you can whiff punish it, but a lot of times If you're not really perfect on the spacing, you get hit. But you see how far that goes? That move is actually super obnoxious. And then this is also really good too. It has a good hitbox, so if you're just throwing out 6x, you might get hit. But level 2 Blast can usually stop it when it's going up. And if you backdashed when it's doing this, then a lot of times you can pillar it coming down. So that's how you deal with that. You kind of just stay out of the range and use 6x preemptively early, not late. 8x is super obnoxious, but it is minus 12 on block, so you can do 2YY into a Psystrike if you just want to go ahead and go for the phase shift, or Zen Headbutt if you want to keep it in dual phase for whatever reason. This move is like, oh god, it's okay. So there's two versions of this. Back XX combos, but it's not safe. It's minus 16 on block, so you can go ahead and go for a 6Y right after that and go for a full combo because this puts you really close. Or they can go for this, which is 6x, or this is 4xy, and that is actually plus on block, but you can armor through this second. So okay, so usually Machamp aren't going to be doing this from neutral. If they are, a lot of times they'll just get hit by Sideway Blast, but they're going to be doing this on Wake Up. So what I suggest is, one of the things you can do is you option select, then you can hit them. So alright, I've set the CPU to switch between waking up with either a block or the command counter. So I'm going to do options like Psystrike against it. And that should beat the armor. Let's see what happens if they block. And I can teleport out on block. And you can actually counter attack the second hit. Alright, let's see if I can get rid of the block. Alright, there we go. And then I'll teleport out if they go for the block. So option select Psystrike is extremely useful against that. The only thing Machamp can actually do, since 2x does not low profile highs immediately, they would have to be doing a release X, I believe. Yeah, release X. It goes for the heave. It has frame 1, upper body invincibility. Not many Machamps really charge this, and frankly, you're not usually going to get in a position to pressure Machamp on a hard knockdown point blank, because there's not that many knockdowns that would put you at that position. Because usually, if you're going to get a hard knockdown on Machamp, you're going to be doing something like this. In which case, if you throw a pillar, you threaten the throw, but you also threaten the pillar, and there's nothing that they can do about that. They have to hold that. So I would opt to go for the pillar instead of a option select if you can. But, you know, option select is still good if that's the only thing. Oh yeah, that's another move to look out for. 6x, super obnoxious and annoying. And online, this is actually a really good attack. Offline, this attack sucks though, because I realized you can actually react to it, and you can counter it on reaction, or you can side strike it. I would prefer to counter, because if you side strike it, it still does PSP to you. So depending on how much PSP you have, you might actually get shifted and lose that trade. But just if you see this, react with the counter attack. This is an annoying move. It is -4 on block. It starts up in 11 frames though, so you can reflect away, but a lot of times Machamps are going to try to get cute and do this crap to you. Man, that is just so irritating when they do that, because it's like, what if I just backdash? Also, that's another thing to note. Super important. You can backdash a lot of Machamp stuff. If Machamp tries to go for that stupid air grab against you, or they try to go for random 8Xs, or let's say the Jump X. Jump X is another super obnoxious attack. This move, it's annoying. It's really plus, and it's hard to anti-air. You can use an 8Y, but if you're not like looking for it specifically, then you might do it late and get hit, or might do it too early and they might armor through it. You kind of got to do it like right when it's at the top to jump to 8Y. But if you just backdash when you're kind of close to Machamp, then unless it does this, then all that's this stuff, all that whiffs. And whiff punish with 2YY or 6X. This move is not going to whiff. The better Machamps, they use this a lot more, and they go for a lot more of the scary face. Also, another thing, this is a high, so 2Y under it. As soon as you see it, 2Y. You can 2X, but if they like go for like this and backdash immediately, they might be able to grab you. But if you're anywhere close, I think 2YY is a pretty good option. But yeah, it's not actually very fun dealing with Machamp in dual phase. Really, it's similar to Sceptile, where you kind of want to be pressuring it, because its reversals are pretty strong, but Shadow Mewtwo's pressure is stronger. Oh, that was supposed to be that. Oh yeah, and that's actually an obnoxious attack to deal with as well, is the if you try to reflect and they start charging their counter like early, then they might hit you out. But for the most part, it's like not that big of a deal. You really just want to be backdashing, throwing out some blasts, see if you can get to hit one of those, so you can go into a full combo there. And then otherwise, 6Y is actually pretty good against Machamp, but if they are enhanced, this is the thing, this is what you really want to be paying attention to. You don't want to be pressing too many buttons up next to it when it is enhanced, because then it can combo off of the counter attack. If it's not enhanced, it can't combo off with the counter attack. So you can kind of press whatever you want to. But once you see it go, then you gotta kind of back up, pop an Eevee while it's doing that, and then pressure that instead. And then, of course, Pillar is great both phases against Machamp. Meaty, really good. So, when you're close up to Machamp, like I said, Backdash is usually your best option. Teleport is okay, but it's not as good as Backdash in my opinion. Going for a Reflect over it, depending on what type of moves they like to use, is nice. But usually Backdashing and then Whiff Punishing is the way to go. And then just level 2 blasting, and then when it backs up, because it's scared, go for that Eevee and start Pillar pressuring. Machamp's a pretty straightforward matchup. When you're in burst, just remember that the burst attack goes like super duper high. But for the most part, outside of that, it's not too big of an issue. In field phase, you can walk to the side around it, but the spacing and the timing is a little bit specific for that. It pauses before it makes that second hit. But you can definitely punish that. But you got to practice that one. Anyway, that's it for Machamp. Let's move on to the next matchup.